Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Everyday Thursday LinkedIn and Facebook Live. Why are you an entrepreneur? This is all about the trials and the triumphs of the journey. This is where I bring you rock star entrepreneurs every single week. I'm Maureen Edwards with 8 Simple Steps, and I take the hard out of entrepreneurship. And this is one of my ways of helping you take the hard out of it, because I have entrepreneurs who are walking the same journey as you, who are here to give you a little bit of inspiration, best practices, tips, few hacks here and there, and some resources. So tonight, no exception again, we get better and better every single week. I have Faith Teope. Did I say it right?
You did.
I did. Faith Teope. She's a multimedia journalist. She is the CEO of Retirement Leverage Incorporated. She specializes in, 401ks, and that's her specialty and her expertise. And she just kind of rebranded her company, and it's a really cool, I think, tagline. I'm going to read it for you. 401k providers inspired by people. So welcome, Faith.
Thank you. It's great to be on this with you, Maureen. You have just really made a huge impact in the world of entrepreneurs, and I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And the whole idea is to bring my fellow entrepreneurs here and have them share their journey, because I think that people can really relate to it. And that's what I'd like to ask you is, how did you even start the entrepreneurial journey?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to have to tell you, it goes back to elementary school because really it was my mom's influence. One day in elementary school, I think it was about maybe 5 or 6, and I asked her for some money to buy a snack at school. And without missing a beat, she told me no. But she said, I'll give you money to go to the market, buy something, sell to your friends, and you can eat your profit.
No way.
I mean, just that woman is so savage.
She was the inspiration of entrepreneurship, right?
Yes, she was. And while I learned plenty of financial skills and great just life hacks from my dad, my mom really got that fire burning for me of entrepreneurship, because it started with selling candy to my friends at school. And then slowly over the years, I expanded and sold laundry soap to the moms, or soy sauce and vinegar. And I just loved it.
Oh my gosh. So when did it really get serious in entrepreneurship, where you're like, okay, I'm going to really make a living at this? What was the first step?
I thought there was a long period of my life watching my dad and other people in my life run their own businesses that I thought, that is not for me. Mm-hmm. And then when I had my first child, then I don't know what it was, but certain things were just starting to click for me. The reward of the risks, because I was in a safety net of working for someone else, and I was able to push. I was able to rub people the wrong way and try to advocate for things that I thought needed to happen. But then there's something very different about the life of an entrepreneur, where you take risks and the only person that's really going to fail is you. But then the rewards are so much bigger, because you know that you push through something hard and you come out on the other side feeling so accomplished.
I love that. In fact, it's calculated risk taking. It isn't just like, I'm going to run into this without any thought. So I have to say to people, just be very, very calculated with it. But you're right, it is not corporate. Like, people have to understand that if they have left corporate and they're venturing into this, they have to get into the mindset that this just isn't corporate anymore. So what was your first company that you created?
Well, I mean, over my lifetime, I started some very small ventures. I mean, magazines at the time were the only subscription service that I knew, but I started what was called the Panty Club. And it was a panty subscription. Obviously, that one failed very hard. Mostly because I didn't.
Why?
people ran out of reasons to have a panty subscription. And I also had trouble with collections because I didn't know how to deal with the invoicing for people who didn't always have access to quick money through checks. So I had a lot of problems to solve there. But later, my more successful venture was a small tech company. I had this idea for our 401k industry, and I built this cute app. It was great. I was so excited about it. And quickly was acquired by the company that is now known as Leverage Retirement. And that's when they had their massive rebrand.
Wow. So what exactly did this tech app do, and how did you even come up with it?
Well, I won't get too granular because it might be too nerdy for your crowd, but essentially in our space, there is people forget about their 401ks, or they don't know what they're supposed to be doing with it. Mm-hmm. So if they leave a company and they're moving to another company, this actually helped keep in touch with those employees and have a quick, easy digital process for them to not only give us the instructions of how they wanted it in cash, if they want it rolled over somewhere, mm-hmm. but also help them track it. So we could do from the administration side, we can do mass sweeps, we can do individuals. And on the individual side, they're informed along the way. And I was very aware of this because I, at the time, was working in operations with the company that is now Leverage Retirement. And there was a company that was fulfilling a lot of this for us, and they were going away because it wasn't profitable, but mostly because there wasn't enough digital compression there.
So what was the greatest challenge when you started this company?
I think it was actually my own mindset that was the biggest challenge, because I so often was so concerned about how everyone else would think, or, you have a small window where you have that bright idea, or, oh, this is what I need to do next. And then your brain tells you all the risks that could happen or all the things that could go wrong. And for a while, I let a lot of those things roadblock me. So I do think that was probably my biggest roadblock with it, was my own mentality, trying to just drop all of the expectations and the concerns of risks that might not even happen anyways.
So if somebody is experiencing the same thing you are, which mindset is like the entrepreneurial mindset is completely different. I mean, you have to think totally different. How does somebody overcome it? Like, how did you get over those roadblocks? What would you recommend to somebody?
I think tuning out the noise would be one of my biggest tips. Sometimes we have to take in wise counsel from people around us, but a lot of times the reason why we talk about what we're doing is because we're excited and we need affirmation that, yes, keep going. But if we pause, we might realize that the person we're about to say it to is not going to rah us on. They're actually going to say, well, yeah, but have you thought about, and they'll give you this long list. And so I think the first thing is probably to default to tuning out that noise and paying a little bit more to your in the present instinct. I think that would be my step one, tip.
That's great. It's all about your gut feeling sometimes.
And it's a hard juggle, right? Because you want to listen to your instincts, but then you're also supposed to check in with reality and then listen to anybody that might give you wise advice, so it's like, where is that balance? That's an interesting play there.
So what was your first success with it? Not the success of selling it, but like the first thing that you said, wow, this is going to work. Like, this is going to make it.
When I tested it myself for the company that I was working for, that's when I realized this actually saved us so much time. And I think back to just before that, I feel like the win happened when I was in operations, working on that tech on the side, because I got to apply a lot of those digital concepts and compress a lot of our efforts, where what required 15 people, I could do it with only 5 now. And so those compression points, I feel like, was the win that helped me with that tech.
Wow. So how many years after you started it did you sell it?
3.
That's pretty good.
It's really fast.
Yeah.
Really fast.
Yeah. I sold mine in 3.5 years too, and it was a whirlwind, absolute whirlwind. I expected to sell it in 5. That was my plan. Like you need to go in with a plan. 5 years, I knew I wasn't going to keep this. Some people like to create like legacy brands and legacy companies. It's not for me. So yeah, 3 years for you. That is so fast. So tell me, you've been an entrepreneur, you've got the entrepreneurial spirit in you, yet you're the CEO of Leverage Retirement Incorporated, which is not your company, right?
I didn't found it. No.
No. Okay. So tell me, is this more of a corporate environment or do you run it like with entrepreneurial flair?
Oh, absolutely entrepreneurial flair. And I do own majority of the company, but I like to also take what I loved about entrepreneurship and make sure that my team feels it. So our culture is a very entrepreneurial culture where if somebody has the affinity or the inclination to pursue something, I want to afford them the space to do that. And we all win when everyone is doing what they feel allows them to thrive. So it's a great culture, I feel like, that keeps us moving forward and stays to the heart of what I love.
So you have people working for you, and it's always different when you're responsible for a team of people and keeping them motivated, keeping the vision that you have and the mission being accomplished. How would you describe kind of your leadership skills with keeping all of this going?
Well, I think what I was just talking about with the entrepreneurial mindset, just really encouraging them to take the space to just be still every week at least, to make sure that they are leaving space for themselves to, whether it be thinking of something completely different, or maybe even space to think about how they might want to do things a little bit differently. We always have great things that come from when they can give themselves the space to be creative.
All right. So I'm so glad you're not micromanaging people. Tell me that you're letting them actually think. All right,
Yes.
people, you hear that when you own your own company, you got to let people think and trust them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're doing all the thinking for every little thing, and that's just exhausting.
Right. Right. I always say, like, if you're going to scale, you got to fire yourself with all
Yeah.
the minutia, and you got to identify what you're not good at and find somebody who's like
Yes.
really good at what you can't do.
That's one of my favorite phrases. I like to find whatever I'm not good at or I don't have an inclination for. I like to find somebody else to be able to do it. It's kind of like actively trying to get yourself out of a job constantly.
And it's one that you hate. Like, I swear, or, if you're not good at something, let's call it what it is. You don't want to do it. You go kicking and screaming, and you're really not good at it, or else you'd be having a blast. So it's like, get rid of it.
Yes, yes. And there's always somebody who their personality will thrive in that position or in that project type. So I definitely am a fan of delegation, as my mom calls it.
That's very awesome, because I have to tell you, I've had a hard time delegating in, being in an entrepreneur, situation. And, I've learned you cannot control everything. You need a village around you to help you.
And I think, like, I will admit, I finally started admitting that I am a perfectionist. And so I do like to control the way that something sounds or the way that something feels. And so I can put my hands on it and have a chokehold, but that would dampen the spirits of the people who want to get involved. So if I let them, if they're saying, oh, I think we should say this or do this, start this kind of line, well, let me see where that goes then. And then they can really thrive in doing something that was their idea, rather than feeling completely stifled by one person controlling everything. That's a dictatorship. Nobody wants that.
No. And you won't attract top talent.
No,
you just won't. So whether you're, in a big company or you're just, starting and you need to add maybe one person or two people and you're slowly starting to grow, you've got to understand that you have to hire people you trust and let them go. Let them do what they need to do for you. So I have to tell you, Judy, she has been sending some comments in. She's like, two of my favorite women. Well, you know what, Judy, I think you're right up there for both of us.
Yep.
Yes, it's a totally different mindset, and delegation is not easy, but you have to do it. I think it is something that as an entrepreneur, I think because we've created it, right? It's like our baby, you know, we nurture it, we watch it grow. It's like ours. And that's kind of how I felt with my first company. I couldn't quite let go until I needed to. Like I was forced to do it.
Yeah.
So tell me, what makes your company different from other people who do, you know, 401k planning or wealth management, that sort of thing? What would you say is different about your company?
I think what really is different, because we do the record keeping and the compliance work just like every other company in our industry. So we're like everyone else in the space, but the difference is that we start with the people. So we look at the humans and we inspire everything from that. And I think that if we boil it down to a common phrase that people understand, it's putting themselves in your client's shoes. That's very different than just trying to see it a little bit from the perspective, but really, really diving in. What are you trying to do? Not what are you trying to do that I agree with, and then I'll help you go that direction. That's very different. Because somebody might have an idea of what they want to accomplish with their company and why they want to have a benefit program, which may not line up with what we experts will say, well, that's not ideal for you. Well, that's what they want, though. And so going from that point, that's how we can come in as a support. We're not here to tell people why and how they should make their 401k plan. We guide them to the right decisions that they might not be aware of, but we have to start with what people really want.
So who is your right fit audience? Who is your target? Is it individual for wealth management? Or are you working more with corporations and setting up, you know, the 401k process with them? Tell me who you partner with.
So we serve companies, and that can be anywhere from a one-person company, so entrepreneurs, all the way up to public banks. And we serve, because of the nature of what we do, we actually serve in every single industry: engineering, oil and gas, health and wellness, like yoga studios, medical offices and hospitals. So we run the gamut.
So where do you plan on going next with this company? Because the CEO, you have to be thinking long-term, you know, what will come next? You know, where do you plan to take this company? Is there anything you can share, or is that all confidential?
There are some things that I keep close to my heart, but there are some things that I am very vocal about. There are two main channels of business that we are currently pursuing. One is banks, because we specialize in what's called an ESOP. And that also is a great fit for entrepreneurs a lot of times. Anyways, I don't know how to not get too nerdy with it. And then health and wellness. So we've really loved every single person on my team. It's surprising. I guess it shouldn't be surprising, but every single one of the people on my team are entrepreneurs themselves. And so the things that they want to do next, they're learning a lot of those skills under my wing. And so there's a lot of things that they're bringing to the table. We've got a great fitness community. And so the health and wellness, though it's already a large book of our business, we're able to pursue that in a different way because it's something that's near and dear to our hearts already.
So what has been your greatest success since this transition? You've had unbelievable success, you know, when you were by yourself and newly creating everything. But now that you're in a different position with a team of people, like what big thing has really stood out for you that the company has done under your leadership?
I think the increase of the book of business simply from applying a lot of the technological changes that I made, which those changes happened because I started with people, which I love because that's the heart of the business. I looked at our people and, you know, I talked to all of them and tried to find out what was making their day miserable, or what would make their day better? What could make your job be something that you actually love to come and do? And then I tried to find ways that I could compress our work so that we could do less of the things that they didn't want to do. And so I feel like that's probably the strongest win, because I alleviated a lot of burden on my own team. Now my team can serve better because they hate their life less, you know?
Well, I guess that's a good way to go, right?
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, an entrepreneur, like once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, right? You know, starting a business. Is there another business that's maybe coming around the corner for you that you have thought about? And it may not be for now, but in the future, is there something you would like to do, like open a restaurant or, you know, open a daycare? Like, I don't know. What is the I know from wealth management and banking and 401ks to opening a daycare. I'm just saying, is there something that you have a passion for that you think you could jump in and do it again?
Yes, totally. And you know, as time goes on, things always will show up, and you can decide to pivot. But right now, what I see as two things that I would love to pursue next. One is a digital magazine. And the second is, my kids have actually shown some entrepreneurial kind of hints. And they, with the way that our life has been over the past couple of years, I used art and storytelling as a way for them to process big emotions. And recently they have been talking about writing a book and sharing it with other kids so that they could believe that they're artists, that they're not different in the bad way, that they're not abnormal, and that there are other families and kids like them. And I love that. So as I was talking with them and trying to nurture where they wanted to go with this, I saw a podcast coming out of it. I saw books or a platform for other kids to submit artwork or their own books. And then when I explained to them, my kids, a little bit about the business concepts, they're all young, 9, 8, 7, and 5.
Those are your kids? That's the age? You've got 4 kids?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, like boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. No, you are the mompreneur. That's the poster child. Oh my goodness.
But I loved it because when it came to the money part of the conversation, I wanted to teach them a few of the mechanics. Their first instinct was to take the money and help other families escape bad situations. If they could pay for a hotel, if they could help them buy clothes or new toys when they had to up and move, very quickly. And I loved that spirit in theirs. And so right now I see myself supporting that and starting a company that will help them reach the people that they want to reach.
I think that's awesome. All right. Totally. You're thinking about it. It'll get done. But okay. So I have to talk about the mompreneur thing, because there's just no way I'm going to get you off the hook. With 4 kids, how are you juggling? And how are you juggling, and what advice can you give to other mompreneurs or even dadpreneurs out there who have to juggle the kids and run a business? How are you doing it? What advice do you got?
It is a juggle for sure. And I think the first things first, just assume everything will go crazy. Nothing will work out. And accepting that allows you to release this need for everything to be buttoned up. So I had many times Zooms. I was on a radio show, and I'm lining my kids up with books and washable paint, and maybe even I'll even turn on a movie for them, and I'm hoping that just please stay quiet, and then of course somebody comes knocking on my door, or they say that they got hurt, and something will go wrong. But once I accepted things will go wrong, I will try to do my best. And I think when we show up authentically and say, oh, I'm sorry, do you mind pausing for a second? I need to help my kid. People are actually more understanding than I've given them credit for. So I say this like I've got it all figured out, but really, I would think that the biggest advice as a mompreneur is give yourself some grace.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it has gotten a little bit easier with COVID. I think people are a little bit, everybody was kind of in turmoil and in pain, and they understood everybody's situation. And I think that it's continuing. Like, I do believe people have said that this is real life. This is what's going on. Now, do you work in an office or do you find yourself working at home to be able to manage this?
I now, since COVID, I have worked remotely the entire time. And my kids have summer programs and, they're in school. So they're gone for most of the day. So that's not too difficult. And then as an entrepreneur, you're working at night after they go to bed.
Yep.
But yeah, it's interesting working from home.
But you have flexibility. And that's what I say about entrepreneurship. You kind of control the destiny. Like you control the story.
Yeah. The autonomy is also terrifying too, because you're like, I'm in control. Oh my God, I'm in
I don't
control.
want to be. I will say it is a lot easier to go get a paycheck.
Yes.
At corporate America. I will tell you, and I don't know of an entrepreneur who would not say the same thing. You're right. It's big risk, but big reward. And I truly believe that, if you do it right, if entrepreneurship is going well, you will enjoy the journey along the way. But like you said, give yourself grace. A lot of mistakes are made along the way. I mean, it just is. So what is your one piece of advice? If you could just give one, besides giving grace, we know, for moms, but people who aren't moms out there, for an entrepreneur who's brand new, what would you say to them? Like your one word, one sentence of wisdom for them?
Ooh, that's weighty. What first came to my mind is what I will give today. It's get messy, make mistakes.
Great. It's great.
Not so profound, but I do feel like giving yourself the grace to make mistakes is a great place mind-wise to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It may not always go the right way, but at least you're moving, keep moving forward. Right. So if people want to get a hold of you, Faith, can you give us some of the places they should reach out to?
Yes, the easiest way is to go to faithteope.com, and then you have all my handles. I am on all the platforms, but that's the easiest way to find out about what I do and find my company and all my social handles.
That's wonderful. So I always say to my rock stars, will you come back and give us an update of how the company is moving and if those, scaling opportunities are getting on board? Will you do that, Faith?
Oh, yeah. Great. Would love to.
Great. Well, thank you so much for tonight. I super appreciate it. I know how busy you are, and now I know how really busy you are because I did not know you had 4 children and they're also close in age and also young. So right now I'm in awe even more. But thank you so much for coming tonight. So
yes, thanks for having me, Maureen.
And for all of you out there, thank you for tuning in. I hope this was valuable because Faith really drops some true gems and some real wisdom out there. And please understand, you are not alone in this journey. Reach out to me if you need any help to take the hard out of the process for you and eliminate the overwhelm, the mistakes that we're talking about, and the complexity of building a business. You can just go to my website, 8simplesteps.net. I will be back here next week with another rock star because that's all we bring. At the end of the day, that is it. So join me next week. And again, Faith, thank you so much for being here. And good luck to you and good luck to those new ventures that may be coming down the road because I think they're going to be amazing.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Good night, everybody.